All right, Hostler air brake rules, Bruce.
Hostler,
Hostling.
Can best be described as moving locomotives into and around locomotive servicing facilities, spotting engines or fuel, sand and water, separating unused locomotives and switching locomotives into consists that will then be given the proper air test to proceed or prepare them for the desired service. Placing the consist on an outbound diesel-ready track or possibly moving consist between yards a few miles apart.
So yeah, as a hostler, you know, I kind of equate it to like a utility guy. You basically do what the yard master needs you to do with those engines, right? You may be putting power on an outbound train. You may be taking train off of an outbound power, taking it to the diesel shop. You may be going around the yard picking up bad order engines. So whatever the case may be, just do what he tells you to do. They're good jobs, you know. Spotting them for fuel, sand, water, MU'd. Anybody have an idea what that is? Ross? Multiple unit configuration. What that mean? Well, if you hear the term locomotive consist, we're talking about all the locomotives in your train, right? And these locomotives are, we call it MU'd together with air hoses, and not just the brake pipe, right? The big air hose. We got a bunch of other air hoses when it comes to locomotives, and you'll know about those today. And we also have what we call an MU cable, electrical cable. It's a big, you know, the cable's about that big around, and the head on it's about like that, and it's got like 26 different electrical prongs on it. And it essentially allows for the trailing engines to do what you do on the motor, you know, on the lead motor. So if you go to like notch 2 on your throttle, through those electrical MU cables, those other motors go to notch 2. So all that stuff. Outbound track, a few miles apart, you could be on the main line. You'll hear me say stuff like your locomotive consist, your power, your motors, all those little slang terms. It's all about the locomotives. Absolute signal. Remember, we're going to be on the main line. Okay. You need to know your signals. Signal without a number plate or identified by an A marker. Okay. Can these be found in ABS territory? Absolutely. Absolutely. The only difference in territory ABS, the train dispatcher can't control these. It's all still automatic, right? Because remember the basic block systems? How do you pass a stop signal in ABS? That's an absolute signal, so they can be in ABS. CTC, block signal system, uses block signal indications, authorized train movement. What is this right here? Anybody? Control point. Control point is a location of absolute signals controlled by the dispatcher. Okay. I say it's a location where the train dispatcher can make a decision on how he wants to run his train. Okay. Core safety rules. Ross. This is going to be in your safety rule book. You probably already got it highlighted from the safety class.
These rules provide a core of safe work practices for NARS people. These rules apply every day and every job you do. They will guide and direct us in maintaining a safe work environment. NARS is committed to your safety around the clock. Information in this book is a vital component to help you make solid and safe decisions on the job and with your family at home.
Okay, now throughout this presentation, you will see several safety rules thrown in. Because when you're a hostler, when it comes right down to it, you're climbing and operating between this equipment a lot more than like a normal conductor would his cars. Because that's what they're paying you to do. That's the nature of your job. You're going and coupling up locomotives, you got to do these air tests, you got to be in there hooking up all that stuff. So you spend a lot of your time kind of in a danger zone, so to speak, okay, in between the equipment, walking around the equipment, you know. So they certainly do not want you to lose focus on the safety rules that apply to what you're doing. All right, Tyler.
So climbing and standing couple of cars. Do not step on the coupler or on the coupling lever. Do not place hands, feet, or other body parts or other parts of the body on the sliding still or between the coupler horn and the end still of the car.
And we've talked about this before, but can you envision in your mind what they're talking about right here? The coupler, uncoupling lever, okay, that's fine. But what about sliding seal, coupler horn, end seal? Can you visualize where they're talking about? You have the drawbar there with the knuckle on it. That's facing us. But that part behind the drawbar, where the bar actually goes into the car, those are the areas they're talking about. You don't want your feet. You don't want your feet on top of the drawbar or behind it. Sliding seals, remember those end of car cushioning devices? How they can jet out. They don't want your feet anywhere near those. Basically, if you're not on a crossover platform, you shouldn't be in there, or a ladder. You shouldn't be in there. All right, getting off equipment. Lawrence.
Standing the equipment. When getting off standing equipment, face the equipment before getting off. Determine that no obstructions or debris are where your feet will land. Be alert for switch stands, closed clearances, uneven footing signal, and other items that could prevent you from getting off safely. When getting off the caboose, walk down the steps, turn off at the bottom step and face the car, then get off. Except in emergency, do not jump to the ground from rail car and engine ladders, step platforms, decks.
That's a big one. This is a big one for hostlers. Even though it says caboose, locomotives are the same way. They have basically the same design of steps. And like most of your steps on your locomotives, especially the big wide body ones, if you look at it from a side view, you know, they got the panel, that's the edge of the locomotive, but the steps actually go like kind of like that. Regular steps, right? And what people have a tendency to do, you know, as opposed to a car is a ladder, straight up and down. What people have a tendency to do is they'll walk down the steps and they'll be holding the handrail and they'll just walk right onto the ground. That's against the rules.
We're talking about on a locomotive or caboose?
Either one. They're basically the same, okay? I'm going to talk locomotives because that's what we're talking about today, but it's the same as a caboose, okay? So if you get off those steps of a locomotive, you can walk down, but on the last step, they want you to turn around, hang on to the irons, and step off to the ground, okay? So make sure that's the way you do it next week out in the field. Brewski.
Crossing tracks. When crossing tracks, do not cross within 25 feet of the standing equipment unless second sign of protection has been established. That's outlined. Do not cross in front of approaching equipment unless you are sufficiently ahead of the equipment to cross safely.
You know, you're going to have plenty of times when you're out and about doing your railroad job that you might see a cut of cars coming from a distance or a train coming down the track and you're going to the other side and it's no issue. Just you cross, you know, it's kind of like a highway. Don't step out in front of a car and get run over. So that's normally not a big problem. But I can tell you where we've had some of our fatalities with this ruling is at nighttime. Crossing the tracks at night. And what happens is you might have a train shoving its cars down a track. And, you know, so you got all these cars that is shoving. You got this road crossing right here. And you've got this flat car as a very rear car. And it's nighttime and you're looking, you see the shadows, right, of the car, but there's been many people that look right over this car. And then they dart across the track and get hit. BNSF had a carman killed, I don't know, it's probably 4 years ago now, for that very thing. They were in their carman, they call it a mule, you know, and pulled up to the road crossing, seen the train shoving down, because they was getting ready to go get into position to inspect the train. Saw the train coming, it was dark, saw this shadow right here, and then darted across the track, but didn't take into account the flat car. They missed it, got run over. And I want to tell you, just because you're riding a shove right here, you know, that's where I would be riding. I wouldn't be on the flat car. But just because you're riding a shove, somebody can jump out in front of you, and that doesn't mean you're going to be able to get that train stopped. You know what I'm saying? You still got to, hey, engineer, stop, stop, stop. And by the time all that happens, a lot of times it's too late, you know. So I'm not saying it's your fault as a conductor for that happening. But, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, if he's watching the shove, how did that happen? We had a fatality in my yard like that. We had a maintenance away guy that had retired from the railroad, and a real go-getter. And when our yard was going to be rebuilt, they were going to add a bunch of tracks to it and just really shape it up. They called, the UP called this guy and asked him if he wanted to come out of retirement and kind of head the team, the whole project. And he said, yeah, you know, they was probably paying him god awful amounts of money. But one day we had our yard was basically set up like this. We had the 2 main lines that ran right through the yard. Over here is where they were building new tracks for a classification bowl tracks. Over here there was tracks that we used for our trains that come in and do inspections and crew change and then take off again. Call them outbound tracks. Our switch crew was shoving a train on this track down the main line. They were building a train and they were going to shove it down the main line. This maintenance away guy, he was over here doing something. And he gets a call. He had a guy over here that like twisted his ankle or something. It was some minor injury going on. So anytime you say injury on the railroad, people freak out. Freak out. We had a student last class, little paper cut. It was a full-blown deal. It was bad. He did it on an air hose. Just a little bitty, like the size of a paper cut. And the railroad just went berserk over it. Anyway, this guy's like, injury, you know. So he's talking on the phone, cell phone, over this situation. Now, the cell phone wasn't a rule back then. I'm talking 1996. Okay? The cell phone wasn't a rule thing. But what he's doing is he's talking on the phone about the injury, and he's walking over to the area, right? And he's walking kind of like this. Well, there was a train parked right here on the track. And he darts right across, talking on his phone, and this train ran right over him, killing Devin and a doornail. Just like that. We always fail to think of the fact that this stuff can happen to us, you know. We never think that. Really. You know, we know it could, but we don't really think that. At least I don't. I go through my day and I do what I do. You know.
At night, don't they light up the tracks in the yard and everything pretty well, or not really?
Most yards, yeah. Now you might have a yard or two, like along the main line, just little areas that may not have perfect lighting. They try to, you know, but everywhere's not perfect, you know. All right, crossing the track. No, this is tracks within a mechanical facility. Whoever's next.
While within the limits of a designated mechanical facility, or crossing between standing equipment that is not under blue flag protection, employee may cross within 25 feet of standing equipment provided. Speed limits for all equipment on the track is 5 miles an hour or less, and check for movement is made prior to crossing track, and distance is sufficient to allow safe passage should there be any unexpected movement, along with designated walkways are used when available.
So remember, inside the diesel shop, we can cross within that 25-foot rule because it's a more protected area. Okay, you're protected by derails, you're protected by the blue flag scenario, you're protected by the max speed in that whole area. As a hostler, if you bid in those jobs, you're going to spend a lot of time in the diesel shops. So you want to keep your head on a swivel, so to speak. All right, Tyler.
Stepping on rails, step over rails, frogs, switches, interlocking, apparatus, connections. Watch for conditions that could interfere with footing.
Okay, that kind of speaks for itself. Now, out in the field, you know, we tell you not to step on the rail. When you go out to the field, depending on who you have for an instructor from the BNSF side, Jeremy touched on this when he went on the tour. I don't know if you remember. Basically, he said a lot of times people will try to avoid even stepping on the cross tie. They, you know, step on the rocks instead of the cross tie because the cross tie's got oily creosote in it, could be slippery, stuff like that. That move is, I call them technique. Okay, you have rules and then you have people's techniques, right? If you cross over those tracks and you walk across the tie, that's not a violation of safety rules, okay? But some instructors that we had out there in the past, they take that, just for that one example, and you know, if they see you doing it, they go berserk. You can't step on those ties. You can't step on those ties, right? Rule book says nothing about the cross ties. Okay, that's technique. I tell you that to tell you this: if you run out there and you have an instructor that's kind of saying something a little bit different from what you're used to hearing, treat it kind of like the flavor of the day, unless he's dead wrong. You know, if that's his technique, then that's what he wants you to do. Then just do it. You understand? you don't want to get into a contest with someone and say, well, that's not what the rule book says and I'm not doing it. Don't get into those kind of things, you know. Just kind of, if he's not wrong, and that's the way he wants you to do it, then just do that, okay? Big deal right here. All angle cocks air hoses as if they're under pressure. Those glad hands are made out of metal on those air hoses, okay? And the glad hand faces to the side. That's where the hole is. So if you get 90 pounds of air that rushes out of that hose, what happens to the hose, you think? Newton's laws, right? Opposite direction, okay? There have been people hitting the shin bone and for sure some very good bruising, and some people have chipped their bones because of those air hoses. So you got to kind of watch that when you're operating around those air hoses. The ironic thing about the air hoses is if, you know, sometimes you will find yourself in a position to where you manually put cars in emergency, right? For whatever reasons. So you go to that rear car and the air hose is just dangling. There's nothing hooked to it, right? But the angle cock is closed. That's why it's not an emergency. And then what you'll do is you'll put that cut of cars in emergency on purpose for whatever reason. All you got to do, that's a time where you want to watch that air hose. All you got to do is just reach down and grab the hose with your hand and just turn it, and it won't do anything. It's almost as if you prevent it from gaining any momentum, there's nothing to the situation. Just grab it, put an emergency, and it won't do anything. But if you let it get that momentum and come around, it could slap you in the leg. Handbrake categories. We got a vertical wheel. That's what that one is. Lever ratchet, horizontal. Locomotives, they have many of these. Okay, vertical wheel. And some of them have the lever ratchet handbrake on the locomotive. We also have electric handbrakes on locomotives. Some of these locomotives are equipped with a push button handbrake. All you got to do is from the inside push a button and it ties automatically. Make people lazy, don't it? So. All right, well, obviously these are car handbrakes, but we do have these types on locomotives too. Location, position, method of operation. You got to make sure you consider all those factors. Handbrakes on moving cars. Same thing with locomotives. Don't operate a handbrake on a moving car or locomotive except in a gravity switch move, and you will not be making a gravity switch move with a locomotive. You won't even be making them with a car in most locations on the BNSF. And you for sure won't on the UP. Position to operate. Who's up? Brewski? Are you? Who's up?
Oh, sorry. End mounted with brake steps or crossover platform. If the car has end mounted brakes and a brake step or a crossover platform, stand on the brake step or crossover platform to operate handbrakes. Apply handbrakes by standing on the left side of the brake with your left foot on the ladder rung and your right foot on the brake platform. Grasp the ladder rung or top handhold with your left hand and operate the brake with your right hand.
You're going to tie, next week, you're going to tie your share of handbrakes out there, so you should get pretty good at it. The first day, what they'll normally do out in the field is they usually just do the basic task. Meaning, show you how to do the switch, derail, change a knuckle, line a draw block, all these basic tasks, tie a handbrake, cross through equipment, all these basic tasks you're going to do. They will normally demonstrate the task to you, and then you guys will do the task. Okay. Now, the one thing I always tell students when I was out there is when we teach it to you and when you do it, you know, it feels kind of robotic. You know, keep my body straight as I'm doing the switch type thing. And but we don't. The objective is not to be a robot out there. The objective is to show you the correct way to do it, and then just do it. You know, perfect example is something like lining a switch. You know, checking the switch points. There's 2 times you check switch points, right? The first time you check the switch points, you're checking the gap, correct? Make sure there's no debris and stuff. You know, so the students after like day 1, maybe into day 2, when we're moving equipment and all that, they go out there and they get ready to line a switch, and you know they're like, okay, I have to stop 50 feet. I've got to look both ways, and I have to line the switch, and they're doing all this in their mind, and they're kind of robotic. I am now checking the switch. You know, we don't need all that. Just do it. You see what I'm saying? It's just a matter of just doing it right by the numbers. Okay, we don't want you to be robots out there. Red flags.
A red flag is displayed when trainers must stop. When approaching a red flag, the trainer must stop short of the red flag and not proceed unless the employee in charge gives instructions, including the milepost location of the red flag.
Red flags are basically a stop signal, and they have just as much weight, probably more weight, than a normal stop signal would be out there on the main line. Okay, because if you encounter one of these red flags out on the main line and there's nobody to get you by it, the train dispatcher can't do it. This comes out of the G Corps if you're looking for the actual rule. Okay, so red flags are a huge deal. You will have a class in week 5 about temporary restrictions, and it will talk about the red flags, yellow red flags. We'll talk about green flags, yellow flags. They'll give you a lot of information on how and what they mean, how to negotiate them. Train is flagged where trains must stop. Approaching a red flag, you got to stop short of the red flag unless the employee who put it there tells you you can go by it. Okay, and he's got to give you the location of that red flag. Managers also use red flags in their testing. We have testing kits. Okay, and if we set up a scenario where maybe we cause you to move at restricted speed, for example, around the curve, we might put up a red flag. You're supposed to be able to stop short of that. If you get 1 smidget of an inch beyond that flag, you fail the test. It's a decertifiable event. All right, display of the red flag. Brewski.
A crew member must attempt to contact the employee in charge to avoid delay, giving the location of the red flag and the track being used. If instructions to proceed are received before the train stops, the train may pass the red flag without stopping.
Okay, one of the reasons why we throw this into the Hostler lesson is because, like we said, you are very apt to take these locomotives out of your yard onto the main line to go to another yard. Okay, and when you do, you may run up on a maintenance of way crew out there working, or maybe there's a Form B going along your way that you have to negotiate. So you have to know a little bit about these red flags and how to negotiate them. The bottom line is this. Different flags get used as pairs, mostly. Meaning, a flag that would go with a red flag would be a yellow red flag. We wouldn't use a yellow flag totally with this. Because yellow flags What does that mean? No, no, the yellow flag's not signals. What does a yellow flag signify?
2 miles per
All right.
2 miles per hour restriction there.
You're 2 miles, it alerts you that you're coming up to a temporary speed restriction. Okay, that's what we use yellow flags for. And green flags are used in conjunction with yellow flags. Green flags tell you that's the end of the restriction, right? Okay. Yellow red flags and red flags are used together. This one tells you, warns you that, you know, in 2 miles, usually, you're coming up on a situation where you may have to stop your train. Okay, so we use red flags with these. The idea is this: if you ever pass one of these flags out there, try to contact the employee who placed it there before you come upon the red flag. Yes, sir.
Will you know who put that there in your?
Most of the time, well, you will know if you have a Form B in your track bulletins, because it gives you the foreman's name.
Right, okay.
So you'll know that. But there's many times to where you'll just be going down the rail and boom, there'll be a yellow red board. And the way you negotiate that, we have a certain way to negotiate it, first of all. But the person you're calling is calling the person in charge of the yellow red board. You just make a call on the radio. And a lot of times they'll answer you, sometimes they won't. But there's a way you have to negotiate that. The objective is this: try to call them before you get here, that way you may not even have to stop. Because whoever placed this flag here, he can tell you to pass the flag without stopping, if he gives you instructions. Okay. All right, who's up? Ross?
The track bulletin Form B is not in effect. Instructions must include speed and distance. This speed must not be exceeded until the rear of the train has passed the specified distance from the red flag, unless otherwise instructed by the employee in charge.
So you get your general track bulletins. Remember, we got Form A's, B's, and C's. Now, you're not always going to have Form B's. It just depends on if they're doing scheduled work out there, right? But if you do, that's scheduled. Everybody knows about it, okay? There's also times to where maintenance away folks want to get a little time to maybe fix a bad piece of rail, and they just call the dispatcher. Hey, dispatcher, what's it looking like? Can we get an hour or two out here, or something like that, right, to work on the rail? If traffic's light enough and they're not going to cause big problems, train dispatcher might let them do that. Well, they can still put up their flags, okay? They don't have to have a Form B to put up their flags. So you come waltzing down through here, there's no Form B, you see this yellow-red board, you call that foreman and he answers you, yeah, we're out here working at milepost such and such. You have permission to pass my red board located at milepost 13 without stopping. If he tells you that, he's got to give you a speed and a distance. Proceed through my limits at whatever, maximum authorized speed, 20 miles an hour. Whatever he tells you, just do that, okay? But when he has these flags up without a Form B, he has to give you a distance and direction, okay, with a speed. Kind of like that. Tyler.
When When a red flag is displayed between the rails of the track, the train must stop and not proceed until the flag has been removed by an employee of the class that placed it.
You got a question?
Yeah, really quick. So like, back to the whole, once your training clears, will they tell you or will you know?
You'll know.
Okay.
How you gonna know?
Yeah.
The counter,
Okay.
right? It's got a counter on there. It counts off the
They won't give you
footage.
like a roll by or whatever. It'll be like,
Well, they'll probably look at your train because that's what all railroad employees do. But they don't normally call you and tell you, "Hey, you're out of our limits. You can speed up."
okay.
That's up to you to know. Now remember, if they tell you to go through at restricted speed, from, here's where their limit starts, here's where it ends. They tell you to go through at restricted speed. When can you start speeding up again?
And the lead wheels.
When the lead wheels hit that point. Restricted speed, right? That's about what's something you don't want to hit. If they tell you to go through not exceeding 20 miles an hour, when can you speed up? When the rear of your train clears that area. See what I'm saying? You don't want to forget that. Display between the rails, you got to stop and you can't move until they move. Okay. Two little scenarios. And generally speaking, this is how they do it for pretty much all railroads. If the maintenance of way people operate in your yard, let's say they're working on a yard track, they will normally put the red flag in the middle of the rail. Okay? If they're working in a yard track. If they're working out on the main line, they will normally put it to the right of the track. Okay? They won't normally put it between the rails on the main line. Why do you think that's so?
So, side.
Exactly. Remember, he can tell you to pass that red flag without stopping, right? Well, if he puts it in the middle of the rails, every time a train comes up, he's going to have to go get in his truck and drive to the flag and take it down. So they'll put it on the side. They can put it either place. When they're in the yard, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be in the middle of the track.
Okay. Seen a video where the train passes the red flag out in like California. They totally blow by it. When they hit the front end loader on the crossing.
They did?
Oh yeah, I mean they smoked it at like 75.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
We're going to watch it.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, Form Bs are a big deal. You'll get fired so quick it'll make your head spin if you mess up in a
Like
Form B.
actually fired or
You could, yeah.
or just
But you can be decertified. But think about it. It's for a good reason. It's people out there working. We don't want to kill nobody because we weren't paying attention. We're gonna watch that video though. I got one I want to show you guys. It's real short, and you may have seen it. It's this guy standing too close to the tracks, and he's looking at himself like a selfie. Have you seen that? And a train comes by, and I guess the conductor on the train didn't appreciate how close he was standing to the tracks. Like,
Oh yeah.
you're an idiot.
that's over in like Europe, right?
I don't know. And he sticks his foot out, kicks him in the head as he goes by.
Yeah. I seen
Y'all
that.
see? You see that? I think it's hilarious.
I thought it was funny.
The guy's like, he's looking in his cell phone. He's like, admiring himself.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this foot comes by. It's so funny.
You have. You have it.
You
Yeah,
haven't
we'll
seen
see.
that?
We'll pull it up.
Over in India.
All right, ringing the engine bell. Engine bell. Ringing the engine bell. This is worthy of a star highlight and 2 underlines. Okay, who's next? This is in 5.8.1 G-Core.
Ring the engine bell under any of the following conditions before moving, except when making arbitrary start and stop switching movements. as a warning signal anytime it is necessary when approaching men or equipment on or near the track. When whistle signal set. 7 is required.
Okay. So you're getting ready to move your train, you release the brakes. Before you start pulling on it, you need to start your bell. It's just a warning to anybody around you. The bell is right here on this. They operate off of air. It's just a valve. You pull it out. And on the side of the locomotive, if you may have seen it before, it's like this little bitty schoolhouse bell, like the old schoolhouse bells. Just a little bitty schoolhouse bell, and it just bing, 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 like that, right? And then when you get done, you turn it off. Okay. So you need to remember all this. Warning, that's obvious. Approaching men or equipment on the track. Turn to Rule 8 while you're there. 5.8.2. Okay. It says anytime whistle signal 7 is required. What's that signal? When you're approaching a road crossing. That's the sequence that you have to blow when you approach that road crossing. So remember, if we're above 45 miles an hour or 45 or above, we start blowing that sequence at the whistle board, right? And the objective is to get one sequence out as the engine hits the crossing. Now, if you don't, then start the sequence over. You know, I'm sure some of you are going to be that way in the simulators. Okay. I don't want you to blow one sequence in the simulator and you blew it too quick and you still got 1,000 feet to go hit the crossing and you just don't blow no more because I already blew one sequence. You know, no. The sequence goes until you hit the crossing.
You know, there's a setup where it has a sequencer.
Some locomotives do,
But no.
not in these simulators. But you're right. Some locomotives are set up that way. They got a foot pedal down underneath the engineer's desk. All they do is just tap it with their foot, and it just blows the sequence. Yeah. Lazy. That's all
I
I
like the horn. We hold it all
Yeah.
day.
So you need to know what that signal is by heart. Okay, it's 2 longs, a short, and a long. That's the whistle signal for public road crossings. Here's another one. Now, I want to tell you this though. It says blow anytime this is required. With the way most locomotives are set up, okay, and you could have some mechanical malfunctions and it not work properly, but the way most locomotives are set up, this is your horn valve, okay? When I pull this horn valve, it automatically starts my bell. Yeah, okay? Unless, like I said, there's a little defect or something, and then you might have to reach out and turn it on yourself. But most of the time, when you blow the horn, it starts the bell. On those two, back there, it doesn't have a horn valve, and it doesn't have that valve for the bell. It's got buttons, and you'll see them. You'll spend a lot of time on that, believe me. Okay. Now, approaching men or equipment. Out there on or near the track, there is a whistle signal that we have to do for that too. Okay, and it's whistle signal 4 and 8, I think. What's 4 and 8? What's 4?
4 is acknowledgement when you signal not otherwise provided for.
Okay, what is it?
2 shorts.
All right, so it's 8 and then 4. 8 is a long and a short, right? Okay, so here's what happens. Any train that's going down the track, if you look down the track 1.5 miles and you're like, oh, I see some orange vests down there off to the side, right? Something like that. You have to blow this sequence for men and equipment to warn them. So the first thing you're going to do, a long and a short, okay? Do two, long and a short blow. Also, you're going to be ringing your engine bell. Now, after that, you're going to be doing a series of 2 toots. That's whistle signal 4. Until you get the head in by them. Okay? Toot, toot. Toot, toot, like that. Until you get the head in by them. That's the way you do men and equipment. So you need to know what that one is too. Okay? Both of those. 8, warning men and equipment, 8 and 4. Who's next?
Ring the engine bell under any of the following conditions. Approaching public crossings at grade with engine in front, start signal at the crossing sign or no sign, or if movement begins between sign and crossing, start signal soon enough before crossing to provide ring. Continue ringing the bell until the crossing is occupied.
The objective is to make sure that you're giving warning before you hit these crossings. To me, that's a two-folded reason. First of all, you don't want to hurt anybody, right? Because you will have, I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure you've probably done it. I have. Run the gates, or take chance. Oh, so I just made myself look like a fool. No.
I never done that.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
You make a note of it.
Okay. Edit. Mark. Okay. Anyway, twofold. You don't want to run into some dummy trying to run the tracks. Secondly, it's a lawsuit thing for the railroad. Because if you hit somebody on a road crossing, you haven't seen the dogs come out like you're going to see them come out for that. Okay? They're going to be sniffing everything you did from that point all the way back to your start. Okay? So you want to make sure that you were blowing the correct stuff. You see what I'm saying? Because it never fails. Every time you hit somebody at a road crossing, you could have 35,000 cameras staring right at that crossing. Everybody in the entire world knows it's this dummy's fault for running the gates, and they'll still try to sue the railroad. That's just what they do. The railroad's got to have its act together, and they're going to start with you. Okay? And there have been engineers on road crossing incidents pulled off of that engine by a sheriff and arrested right there on the spot for hitting the car. No. They were out of that jail so quick it was pathetic. But the sheriff arrested them. He took them to jail.
Just lock the engine
Keep them out.
Sorry, Sheriff.
Hey,
Bullets are blowing stuff
They can't keep shooting.
Yeah, they can't shoot through that metal. Let them shoot. No, but they've done that. And let me tell you something else. There have been lawyers that try to file charges, manslaughter and murder, on train crews when the guy gets killed.
Would you?
I don't think that's ever worked, but
So if that happened, then you get, let's say they take it to court. Do you have the railroad go for you, or do you have to?
I think the railroad's gonna be in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're covered.
Yeah. But the thing is, you got to make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. Every time.
So they can have a back recorder on it?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying everything you did is going to be on that tape. And that's going to be the prime evidence right there. The TIR, the camera that they have in the locomotive, they originally put those in the locomotive to look at road crossings, right? But they use them for a lot more than that now. But they got those, and they also have inward-facing cameras to check you out. And don't be the guy that tries to disable the camera or put a piece of tape over the lens. You will be dismissed from the company for good. I got a guy that worked for me in Harrington. He got dismissed for good a few months ago for that very thing. Because see, he liked to smoke. On the UP, you can't smoke on the property at all, okay? They won't hire you to tell them you smoke either, so don't tell them. But no smoking on the UP property. So this guy likes to smoke, you know, and everybody, you know, a lot of people did it anyway. 1 o'clock in the morning, you're going down a rail, you know, if the engineer smokes and you smoke, they're gonna smoke. Well, anyway, when they put the cameras in the cab, pointed right at the engineer, he's like, uh-oh, can't smoke. So he hung his coat over the camera. Hung it over the camera. He's gone. And it didn't take long either.
What would you get called by?
Huh?
Would you get called by like customer service or your?
No, they do it on a download.
Okay.
They download the cameras later.
So it wouldn't be like the dispatcher. Hey,
Right.
what
No.
are you guys doing?
No, it's not like, at least I don't think it is. It might be, and they're not telling us. And I don't think it's like a live feed. It's a recorded camera.
There's not any in the bathrooms, right?
I
And the porta potties, right?
I don't think so, but I'm not gonna guarantee it.
Go in and find out.
Yeah, let's take a break.